Welcome back to another tier list video, where in this one we'll tackling more of the mid to higher echelon of games. This is still focused around the public games or like / ranked games, where you will feel a lot of difference between being a beginner in the game. There'll be changes compared to mastery of hunters, but also as well for how the meta looks in general. Now, if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will get right into it. Alright, so to begin us off, Bishop. Bishop got slightly nerfed. I think Bishop was one of the top hunters from last playtest. Not really bad by enemies. The nerfs are not huge, but they do make a difference in how she impacts the games. Now, I think she's not an S tier anymore. She's still in high tier, still does fine in chaotic environments, has good abilities, good mobility as well. So I think she's still really solid. Onto Brawl, I think Brawl is still on the weaker side. Now he's good in more, call it chaotic environments, but the problem is that it's easy to get around him, and when you notice like how melee hunters in general play, I think it's harder to get value out of Brawl in general. So he'll stay in the B tier for now. Celeste, as talked about earlier, a lot of the meta comps rely either on building around Celeste or Oath. Now, if Celeste is meta, that means that Oath is kind of unplayable, and that's what happened earlier in Supervive. But then Oath got a lot of buffs, which took over the spot, because Oath nullifies Celeste really well. And right now, they didn't nerf Oath too much, so Celeste is like there, she's fine. She's like playable, she's not bad by any means, but she doesn't provide as much value because the meta hunters will nullify her. So I'd say higher than Brawl, of course, not really on top A to get the value, but she's still good. Now for Eluna, Eluna is for sure like the worst out of the protectors. Gotta say it, like the higher you get up in level, the more useless Eluna gets. Now, but because of like the chaotic settings, like even in mid to higher, like how high you even get into those games will be chaotic because people don't care as much. Even in rank, there will be a lot more playing for kills, you know, getting the points, trying to get up. So I think like she still has the value, probably a little bit higher than Celeste, like not so much that I would put her in A tier by any means, but like she's still better than Celeste and Brawl for that means. Now Felix is a hot topic. There's a big divide between EU and NA about the thoughts around Felix. I personally think that Felix is fairly overrated and gets countered by KP and other hunters which peel him away. Now he is not as good in chaotic environments. He wants to be able to access certain hunters in specific ways. Now it's easy for him to get flanks potentially in chaotic games, and it's easy for him to get onto enemies potentially, but the way things spread, I think if somebody plays a good neutralizer, then Felix gets less value. I do think he's fairly strong overall with the damage outputs and how the equipment is working with him, but I wouldn't have him higher than like top of B tier. It's like slightly going down here as each hunter get on. Ghost, I think Ghost is very solid overall. He's a harder hunter to get value out of, but his damage outputs is really good. I think his main struggle is that he needs peeling, but also the peeling hunters are really strong at the moment. I would put him in A tier for now. I think he has a lot of flexibility and lots of things he can provide to the team. On to Hudson. I think Hudson struggles in chaotic environments. I think he's better than I probably anticipated from last patch, but he struggles in these kinds of environments. I do think he is stronger than Brawl because of standoffs and how you play fights in general, but I would probably want like Celeste and Eluna and Felix over a Hudson at the moment. Jhin is an interesting one. He's really strong and his one-shot potential is very high, and he also thrives in chaotic environments. So I think he's like bottom of A, like he looks higher than he is now, but like bottom A because of the value he can get as an assassin. But the problem is that he can easily get countered if he's against a KP, for example. Now, Jewel is a spicy wild card because Jewel is so reliant on Oath not being meta, and Oath is meta at the moment, so Jewel gets kind of hard countered in most ways. His shield can cancel out her dashes, she can't get a reset, her LMBs suck against the shield of Oath, so it's really hard for she to play the game. But again, in chaotic environments, as these games are, she really thrives and it's really good for her. So I think like she's up here in A tier, but she has certain counters that makes it hard for her to play. So I'll have her up here, but like it's very dependent. KP, I think KP with the buffs are good. They didn't like overtune him by any means, but I think KP is really good because he counters Jhin, Ral, Felix, and other hunters we'll get back to be able to neutralize them and hold ground. His pick potential is really good as well, and he deals a lot of damage even when building full tank. You can go both double Helm and Helm Blade and still get a lot of value on KP. I'll probably have him like high A tier because of the value. He's not like S tier by any means. He can be countered and he doesn't really like the chaotic environments as much. He's more of like playing stand your ground, looking for the picks, but his value comes from countering a lot of the other hunters in the pool. Myth right now got a buff. I think Myth really likes the buff. Her damage output is higher, more value on the Rain of Arrows. I think she was in a good state last patch. I was kind of surprised by the buffs. And now I think she like on the top with the control abilities. She as well as others do not like the chaotic environments as much, since she's more reliant on building slightly comps around her. But if you do build around playing the Myth, she can get a ton of value out. I think she's really strong right now, so top of A for sure. Oath. They tried to nerf him. They didn't really nerf him enough. Like he's here, he's S tier, he's still here. Like if they want him out of the meta, they need to do something more substantial. But right now, Oath is really strong, guys. Pick Oath. Shiv. Shiv is an interesting hunter where she needs a lot of mastery, where I think Shiv relies on being good on the hunter, but she also gets countered by range and people playing together. As mentioned earlier, she likes chaotic environments, getting picks, getting catches. I think right now, she's like top of B tier. If you're really good on, like really good on Shiv, you can make it like bottom A, like a little bit up here. But this really depends on your skill. Like you need to be good at Shiv to get the value. That's like one of the main things about Shiv. On to Shrike. Guys, when you get out of the beginner lobbies, you just sidestep Shrike. Like she's not really doing much right now. I just sidestep her. Like honestly, she's good against Hudson. Like the thing with the Luna and Shrike is that the higher MMR you get into, the worse they just become because they're too simple, too straightforward. I wouldn't recommend Shrike anymore. But again, if you watch Madhavin, you wanna stomp the noob lumpis, you play Shrike. If you want to reach the mid to higher MMR, you start stopping to play Shrike, basically. Void is also on the same wavelength as Shiv, where you need to be really good on Void to get value out of him. His main issue is that he's super immobile. He has a teleport and he does not like chaotic environments. You need to build around Void to get value, but it's really hard to play in general pub games. I'd say is down here, like maybe Shrike can be above, but when you look at competitive settings and more slow-paced game, he becomes really good. Seth, on the other hand, didn't really have any changes, was really good last patch. I put him on A tier, I believe, last patch. Now, other hunters are nerfed. If you just have Oath and Seth on the team, I think you have so much sustain, you have so much combat potential still, and Bubble Blade also got a buff. Like he's in a very good spot. We're back to Oath Seth, guys. Like, I think if you just have Oath and Seth on the team, you already have a super solid comp. I would say if you want to build really good comp, you can mix out different of having Myth, you can still have Bishop, KP, Ghost Jewel, like all this, like even Jhin, probably not Jhin with this kind of team comp, that's why it's the bottom on A, but all of this mixing something together, I think is very solid. Now, if you agree or disagree, let me know, but this is the more